Great experiences build great leaders. Great leaders build great teams. This is Building Great Sales Teams.
For me, it depends on, normally I feel like I'm a pretty intelligent cursor. I use it to accentuate what I'm saying, but every now and then when I've had a few too many beers, yeah. I forget the rest of the alphabet and the vocabulary. It's just those ones. That's all I remember. So
mine's when I'm playing rugby, and then all the curse words come out, because that's how you play rugby, with curse words. It's part of the game, you know.
Well, it makes you run faster.
Yes. Just like my shoes, my fast shoes.
Yeah.
All right, man, we'll get rolling here.
Let's do it.
All right, guys, I got Carson Porter today. He's the founder and owner of Red. Why do I keep saying Red? Agency Syndicate. Rev.
Like your fast shoes.
70 plus episodes have not had this much of an issue with the intro.
Yeah, just be like, I've got Carson. He's Caucasian as fuck. We're going to talk for a minute.
He's Caucasian. He's rich. Listen to the man. All right, guys. I got Carson Porter today. He's the founder of Rev Agency Syndicate. They coach insurance agents how to develop skills and grow their business. He's also a general agent himself at High Point Insurance and Advisors. He left home at 18 to sell satellite TV door to door, worked all over the U.S., transitioned into insurance, and led some of the biggest carriers in the nation for life insurance and annuity sales year after year. Using a similar model, he went on to grow and sell not just one, but two insurance agencies over the course of his career. This all led to his purpose at Rev Agency Syndicate, leading others in insurance through coaching, consulting, and speaking. Carson, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely, man. So let's just get started in the beginning. You know, like, how did you start out knocking doors? How did that come about?
Like most kids end up knocking doors, especially in the community I grew up in. I grew up in finished high school in a small community in southern Utah where there's lots of Mormons, frankly, and knocking doors as a Mormon is a pretty normal thing. So you could say, the kind of social norm was already preset for that. But I wanted out of that town, man. I just wanted out any way I could get it. And one of my buddies, his older brother, had done some door-to-door stuff, primarily on the technician side. And they were getting ready to head out for another summer office, they called it, in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I was like, sign me up. So graduated, we hit grad night, partied real hard. And the next morning, bright and early, I was on the road for Fort Wayne, Indiana, and didn't look back. So
I guess what made you capitalize on an opportunity like that? I know that, like, in your profile, you talked a little bit about, your parents struggling with money and stuff like that when you're growing up. Was it kind of that allure of, hey, I can go and make a bunch of money, or was it more go and hang out with my boys?
Kind of a little bit of both and everything, right? So, we grew up pretty, what's a good way to put it? We didn't grow up with money, right?
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm kind to my parents because they're really good people, but we didn't have money. And that was always something that I saw, that it's not like money's everything and money doesn't buy happiness, but try and buy anything in this world without it, including your own time back. You don't even get your own time back without money. And so I recognized very early that money was important, and I don't need to be, a billionaire and this and that and the other, but I want to have enough of it to where money does not control me. It's not the reason I make decisions. I make decisions for fit on my values and my focus, as opposed to, can I afford it? Right. And even at 18, I was having the inklings of these ideas. And so certainly it was a revenue opportunity that I felt like I couldn't pass up. My buddy's older brother had gone out the summer before, and, it wasn't huge money, but for an 18-year-old kid to go out and in 3 months make $20,000-$30,000, that's pretty crazy.
That's pretty huge.
That's what my old man was making after years in his industry.
Right.
And so it's like, man, that's what an opportunity. And then at the same time, it's, yeah, let's get the hell out of Dodge and hang out with the buddies. Let's go across the United States, drink beer, have bonfires, and do everything in between. So it was a great time. There was a lot of allure to it. But I'm glad I made the decision to do it. It opened my eyes to a lot of things. So
yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. And we had a connect call the other day,
yeah,
where we just chopped it up over some coffee, and you talked about how when you first got the opportunity to get into insurance, you utilized that door-to-door model. Can you talk about that transition a little bit?
Yeah. So when I got into insurance, in a lot of ways, I was dropped on my face. And again, this isn't to shit talk the people that brought me into insurance. They were not equipped with the training and managerial tools that I felt like I needed. Right. And so I had to go elsewhere to find those. Thank God for Google and YouTube. I think Gary Vee is the one that talks about it all the time. But, the best dictionary, the best teacher, the best mentor in the world, first place, Google and YouTube. Yep. Why would you not be there? Right. But yeah, we got into insurance and I was failing. I was falling flat on my face, which sucked, right? We were on the verge of bankruptcy, foreclosure. I'm not going to say we were on the way to divorce, but we weren't tracking a very good relationship at the time, primarily because we were fighting about money. We had a brand new baby and just everything felt like it was falling apart, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm laying there mostly naked in bed. I've got some New Balances on. It's 3 a.m. Don't ask me why I had shoes on. And staring at the ceiling. Yeah. I'm like, what the hell do I do? I just remember being in this like pit of despair, right? And the thing that just kept coming back to my mind was something that my grandpa had actually taught me years ago, which was if you'll show up and do all you know to be good, right, and true, and do the work, if you'll just show up and do that, everything else will work itself out. Mm-hmm. So I caught this line of thought as I'm laying there, and I started asking myself, well, what is the work? And I realized I have no fucking clue. Yeah. I have no clue. But what I also realized, and what I remembered, and this, goes back to my door knocking days, is that no matter how desperate or destitute those days got, because even though we were young kids making good money, we were young kids spending good money too. Right. And there was a lot of days where I'd made, I'm an 18-year-old kid and I'm not even paying for rent because the company I'm knocking doors for is comping my apartment for the summer because I'm hitting my goals, right? But somehow making $10,000, $15,000 a month, I can't even put gas in my pickup truck. Yeah. And I remember going back to those thoughts. Well, what did I do? I went and banged doors. I did something, and in 2-3 hours a day, that's it. I could guarantee that if I went and did that, if I went and put my hand in somebody else's, introduced myself, and had an empathetic conversation, actually gave a damn about what they were talking about, I would get the opportunity to talk about what I wanted to talk about, and I'd have an opportunity to make a transaction happen, whether that was Dish Network or later on, security sales, home security systems. Mm-hmm. And so I went about applying that to insurance. I just said, you know what, I can't control anything else, but I can control my effort. And so I woke up the next day, got dressed, got ready, and went out and hit the doors. And that first day sucked. I don't think I got a single person that was interested. I was probably out for 2-3 hours, but it's because I had no experience doing that for insurance. I didn't know what to say. I just knew if I showed up, I'd figure it out. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, as I laid there in bed after the first day, thinking, my God, is this worth it? I just kept thinking, yeah, all the conversations you had were conversations. They just weren't relevant conversations, but you're the one that didn't bring the relevancy to the table. Right. So the next morning I got up, and instead of hitting the doors first thing, I spent a couple hours sitting out by this little lake there in southern Utah called Baker Dam Reservoir. Beautiful little spot. There used to be nobody there. Now it's full of a bunch of hippies and yuppies and whatever. But it used to be a really great thinking spot for me. So I'm sitting there overlooking the lake, and it's a little chilly, and I just start writing out a plan. I remember when I was knocking doors, something I used to teach people when we were knocking doors for like security is that you had to lead the conversation with questions. That's sales 101, yeah. Right? But I remember teaching them that my questions, the way I designed my questions, and the reason I was having success on the doors wasn't because I just had questions. It wasn't just willy-nilly, and I wasn't just asking them, the basic generic stuff. My questions were set up like guardrails at a little kiddie ride at Disneyland.
Yeah.
And the conversation is that go-kart in between. And that go-kart can go anywhere it wants in between those rails, but those rails are there. And I know for a fact that because my questions are structured this way, at some point or another, that conversation is going to get from point A to point B. It can't get turned around. It can't this, it can't that. It might get tripped up. It might slow down, but it is going to end there. Right. And so with that in mind, I started developing some conversations with questions around insurance. And then later that afternoon, I took those questions and I decided, hey, like I'm already burned out. My brain hurts. Yesterday friggin' fried me, but I'm going to go hit some doors. I'm going to knock 50 doors. If nobody answers, that's okay. I'll knock 50 more tomorrow, but 50's it. That's my number. Right. So I went out and hit my 50 doors. And in 50 doors, I ended up putting together, it was like 11 or 12 qualified leads, not just a name and a phone number, but somebody I had a conversation with who knew I was in insurance and knew I was going to call them the next day to get information about their current insurance and give them some quotes. And I was like, holy shit, I knocked 50 doors. I got 10, 11 leads. That's more leads than I picked up in the last 3 months combined. The next day call those leads and I end up getting information to run quotes with like 8 of those people. I mean, super high conversion rate, right? I'm like, holy shit, there's something to this, I think. And so then I just made it part of my day. Every single day I was going to go knock doors, and I upped that to 100 doors a day. So every day I'm going to knock 100 doors. I'm going to call on my leads from yesterday, and then I'm going to run my quotes and do my appointments. Right. And that's all I did. Well, within 90 days, within 30 days, I started cash flowing a little bit. Within 60 days, I was starting to pay back and pay off some of those credit cards. Within 90 days, I got so far ahead financially doing this, I was able to make my first hire. My first hire, everybody told me you need a customer service representative. But I looked at it and I was like, shit, I'm good at this paperwork stuff. It takes me 20 minutes to bang it out after hours. That's it.
Right.
Instead of hiring that, I'm going to hire someone else to bang doors with me. I want revenue first. That's where my moral obligation lies.
Yeah.
I hired another door knocker and started having him knock doors with me. And I mean, he was a trip, but it ended up being a really good relationship. And him and I developed a good friendship over the course of time. He knocked doors for me for years.
Yeah.
And we just kept rolling through time. It grew into a sales team in this small town of 9-10 people banging doors all day, every day. I started sending them across the state and into other states to bang doors for insurance. We ended up leading several carriers for years and years on production for, like I say, life insurance and annuities. We even did very well with the home and auto, the property casualty stuff, all from door knocking. But that all spawns or goes back to that moment in time where, I'm an 18-year-old kid that just wanted to drink some beer and go hang out with my buddies and learn to bang doors. So.
No, that's beautiful. I love that story, especially the part about where it's 3 a.m., you're laid up in bed, you and your wife are headed to divorce, bankruptcy, the typical story, right? That you end up there. And sometimes it's in those low points where we get the most creative, right? Early in my career, my favorite times were all the challenges and everything, because I had to be creative to overcome them, and as you get older and older, you have less challenges because you're more experienced and you're able to deploy systems better and stuff like that. But, every now and then you come across these huge challenges that you can't get past, or you're in that moment of despair. It's where you're most creative. You almost try to recreate it. It's kind of like, why we recreate pain is to ignite that creativity again, whether it's.
Oh, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that's exactly what I've found over time as I've gotten into higher and higher spheres and circles of influence, networking with entrepreneurs like yourself and others, is that the best entrepreneurs, the ones that don't just learn to build a business where they get a job working for themselves,
right,
but they learn to build something substantial, right? They, whether they are as an intentional about it as we're talking or not, what they end up doing is remembering or being in those moments of despotism and being forced to become creative. And they recognize how productive that was. And so in the future going forward, even though times may not be that desperate, they put themselves into desperate situations and desperate mindsets to, again, recreate that creativity on an ongoing basis. And it's a different kind of desperate, right? It's not desperate or destitute in the sense like it was before, but there's a reason why one of the most effective ways to plan for a business owner or for partners isn't to sit down in your office and do it. It's to go get a hotel in a new city, in a new place where you have no friends, nothing going on. And even though you can afford the hotel 10 times over and there's a beach right outside the window you're going to go hang out at as soon as you're done, you're in a weird place. It feels a little uncomfortable. There's people around you having conversations you have nothing to do with. And it puts you in this place where you can reconnect to this moment of creativity out of necessity, and it allows you to go so much further forward and faster, which is really, really cool. So
absolutely. So you recognize you have this ability already from your days in door to door. You execute on that ability again, and then the first thing you say is, okay, I need to hire. Everybody else has customer service, but you stick to your gut. You hire the appointment setter, essentially the setter in your model at that time. And then it's just like wildfire from there. And that's kind of what is that what led you to becoming a national leader in life insurance sales, or did you start adding in other marketing mediums at that point?
We started doing some other things, but at that time it was primarily that. What we did, we would knock doors for like home and auto insurance, right? And with the cost load to have somebody knock a door and pay them for it, and I didn't make any money selling the home and auto insurance up front. So it was almost what we call a loss leader, right?
Yeah.
But we also use that same process of developing quality conversations in those guardrails to ensure the efficiency and efficacy of a cross-sell to life insurance and retirement planning.
Right.
That's where I made all my money. That's where I recognized, okay, well, I can get in front of people with home and auto, but I can't make money on it because I can't scale it enough, and there's not enough revenue in the first year in it. All the revenue is in residual on the back end, right? But I can make my revenue. I can cash flow everything I need off of this life insurance and retirement planning conversation. And so we've got to get really, really good at cross-selling that. And so industry standards on those cross-sells are in the single digits. I mean, it's pretty low. You have 100 clients, you're going to do life insurance and or something retirement planning with 10 or fewer. And, at the time we weren't as good as we were by the time we left that particular company and opened up an independent agency. But right off the bat, with the intentionality behind designing those conversations, we were in the 30 to 40 percentile on that conversion rate.
Yeah, and you're
right. We left,
it is very segmented. I know some of the top home and auto people in South Texas, and they're not the top, life insurance and financial planning people. That's a completely different section. It's very segmented.
Yeah.
You guys are able to bridge that.
Yeah, we bridge that. And it's not like, because you cannot be the best at everything. Right. But if you're willing to scale, hire, train, and maintain a team, your team can be the best at everything in that sector. And so we had home and auto specialists. Myself, I led our life insurance and retirement planning section of our agency. And it was almost like having multiple businesses within one business. And we all trained and worked together and coordinated and cooperated to make sure that again, effectively, we could cross-sell. Whether I brought someone in for life insurance, let's make sure they get home and auto, or vice versa. By the time we left, that cross-sell ratio was approaching 80%. So if we have that same 100 people come in the door for home and auto insurance, we're going to get 80 of those to do life insurance and or retirement planning with us. So that's where we started doing really, really well on even a national level with those things, was just realizing that we've already got the opportunities in our door. They already know, like, and trust us for one thing.
Right.
All we have to do is exactly what everyone else is already doing. Just the agents, right? What are they doing when someone brings up, oh, hey, do you do life insurance? Instead of instead of them saying, you know what, I personally don't, but we've got someone here in our agency that does, they're saying, no, we don't, but I've got an agency that does. They refer it.
Right.
They don't monetize that moment. They don't do anything about it. When in reality, they could increase. I mean, the numbers are staggering.
Yeah.
If we get into like just home, auto, life, and we're not even talking the like cash value life insurance, whole life, infinite banking, just term life insurance, right? With just adding term life insurance through a quality conversation or a quality conversion to a home and auto account, you can triple your first year revenue per account on average. And that's based on industry averages for premium dollars, which is how insurance agents are paid. They're paid a percentage of premium, right?
Okay.
But that's insane. If you could have half your households coming in, triple the revenue in the first year, how much more effectively could you run an agency, grow an agency, scale an agency?
Yeah,
So,
and so many people are focused on that individual sale, that product, and then scaling that individual sale versus, the two big things I got from that part of the conversation was, one, you recognize your strength and your weaknesses, right? Which when you hired the setter, it wasn't necessarily that you were weak at that. It was more that, hey, I'm good at the paperwork, the admin side, the closing side. So I recognize my strength and weakness. And then you did it again when you took on, life insurance and retirement planning yourself, and then had everybody else do the home and auto as a leader into that, right? And then the second thing is keeping everything in-house. The longer you can keep a customer under your roof and the more things you can offer them in your home, your business, necessarily, the ROI on that customer is so much better, right? I think Brandon Brittingham talks about it all the time. He went from being the real estate agent to being the real estate agent in the title company to also adding on mortgages, to adding on home building, to adding on insurance. I mean, it just one thing after another. Now this one customer has a $20,000 lifetime value versus a $1,000 lifetime value, because you're keeping them owning the whole transaction versus just a piece of it.
well, and then you have so many additional points of revenue opportunity. If you figure, if all I'm going to do is, for example, in this example, we're talking home and auto insurance. If that's the only line of business that I have with that customer, that's all they can refer to me for. And the only people they can refer to me are people that they feel like are in their network that have a need for home and auto insurance. But if they have home and auto insurance, life insurance, health insurance, dental insurance, they're doing this with me, they're doing that with me, they're doing these other things with me, all of a sudden I become that connection point for everything. So that's actually something we teach our agents. We go above and beyond insurance. We get into, let's refer out mortgages. Let's refer out to realtors. Let's refer out to the solar guys. Let's refer out to auto repair technicians. Let's refer to anything and everything. And let's learn to monetize each of those moments. It doesn't have to be significant, but if you're an auto repair shop and I send you a $3,000 valve job that, my client called me to ask, hey, will my insurance cover, fixing my engine? Cause I think it's broke. They always do, by the way. And no, your insurance doesn't cover it, but they need an auto repair shop. If I've got an auto repair shop that's willing to pay me $5 to take excellent care of my customer, my customer is going to be thrilled about the quality referral. We're going to get an extra $5 we didn't have for doing work we were going to do anyways. And now every time they have somebody that needs any automotive work done, they're going to that shop. And who's that shop referring them to when they do have an insurance need? Right back to us. So there's so many additional lines of revenue by just increasing the depth of our service base. But in order to do that, again, you've got to be willing to invest into your business and what you're doing, because you can't do it all. Your time, your energy, even your ability to retain knowledge and be excellent at a thing. It's all finite. And you've got to be willing to spend the money to bring in other experts, not bullshit $10 an hour people. That's not going to grow your business. You got to bring in experts. So
no, that makes a lot of sense. And then the referrals become exponential at that point. And it's like you're saying, having a small piece of a shit ton of business versus a big piece of just your business is a game changer, So you spoke a little bit about how y'all lead your agents to that multiple revenue stream, the exponential referrals and stuff like that. At what point, what was the pivot point at which you were like, hey, I've built something amazing here and I can teach others how to build it without it being like, oh, I'm helping the competition?
Yeah. So, first of all, I've always, maybe not always, but one thing that bothered me, this goes clear back to auto repair, right? Is that we're in this small town and nobody wants, some of the national brand quick lube places doing the heavy work like motor jobs and that kind of stuff. But all the independent mom and pop shops are so busy shit talking each other back and forth. The consumer mentality around mom and pop shops is downgraded so far. All of a sudden they're over at quick lube, XYZ, getting a motor job done by somebody that has no business doing it, because
Right.
those types of businesses they don't always hire the most qualified people for that. Right.
Right.
It was like, holy shit, if we would all just, like, there's so much work to do here.
Yeah.
If we would all just talk each other up, we'd probably all have more work and make more revenue. And so I was having these thoughts clear back in the auto repair days, growing up that way. When I got into insurance, I started thinking the same thing. Like, I've never heard, it's becoming more popular recently, but I like to think I'm part of that change. We've been pushing really hard on even a global level in global organizations to change insurance agents' perspectives about other insurance agents.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been very active and involved in that. But when I first started, everywhere you went, Allstate's talking shit on State Farm, and State Farm's talking shit on Farmers, and Farmers is talking shit on American National, and everybody's talking shit on somebody else in between.
Yeah.
It's like, no, they're all another version of the same crap. They're all regulated and held to the same standards and this and that and the other. And you get in an accident and you have $250,000 in coverage. Geico's $250,000 pays the same as State Farm's $250,000, and their $250,000 is like, we don't have to shit talk or downgrade each other in the consumer mind to go further faster. So that seed's always kind of been planted. I haven't ever felt a scarcity mindset, I guess is what it comes to.
Yeah.
Always felt very abundant in that way. There's so much to go around. If we all just collude together, we'll all get more, frankly. This was clear back in 2018. I started coaching a few people on the side. Because of the success we were having, my phone was blowing up with people calling me, "What are you doing?" Yeah. And I was taking calls from agents all over the country at the time, spending 2, 3, 4 hours a day on the phone. And it started to cut into my ability to get things done in my agency that I needed to do. And so I said, okay, well, if I'm going to spend the time on the phone, which I recognize I really enjoy doing, I need to be able to hire somebody else. But if I'm going to do that, I got to pay for it with revenue. So I got to start charging for this. Right. So I started charging people one-on-one calls. It was like $1,000 a month or something like that. And every week we'd get on the phone for an hour. But it got to the point where I'm talking to 20, 30 agents every single week. And you're dealing with that many people who all have their own problems. And I'm just like exhausted.
Now it's now you're going from being the setter and the closer to actually building on a business again. You're like restarting the whole journey.
And doing it in 20 different places, 20 different states, 20 different, it was exhausting. And so that's what made me sit down and reimagine, okay, I really love this helping other agents, probably because I didn't get the help I felt like I needed.
Right.
And I was in a lot of ways left to twist in the breeze in that regard. Right.
Your purpose is igniting now.
Exactly. And so I really loved it. I feel like I'm good at it. I'm a good teacher. I have an ability to make complicated things seem pretty easy and simple, and to get some people fired up about it and to do it in a relevant way. Most of the insurance industry and finance industries is very antiquated and old. Mm-hmm. And so we were able to have a little more relevant conversation with a younger crowd that's taking over the business, frankly. And I really enjoyed it. So we went to work figuring out how could we do this. And the answer actually came through looking at the Apex organization and what they've been able to do as far as being able to scale quality information to so many people without it consuming all of your time and energy. Mm-hmm. Right. And so as a part of the Apex community, I was able to look at that and say, okay, well, how can we do something similar in our own space? We're not out to compete with Apex. We're out to complement apex, frankly, in regards to insurance agents and financial advisors.
Right.
And so we started building a community around that. And over the course of time here, it's turned into a community of thousands that were able to reach out, help. I mean, I get 10, 15, 20, 30 DMs a day anymore where somebody's like, oh my God, you're changing my life. Oh my God, this, oh my God, that. And what they're referencing is a video we put in the community 6, 8, 10 months ago. But because of the way that it's built, that video is still there. It's relevant. It's being talked about. It's being referenced at the appropriate time for that person. And using, more than anything, social media algorithms to make sure we deliver the right content to the right people at the right time, which is crazy insane. And the algorithm's already there. Facebook and Instagram have spent billions developing this stuff.
Yeah.
Why do I need to go reinvent the wheel, as opposed to just understanding how the wheel turns and using that to make sure that we can help more people, right?
So is your platform based on a Facebook group, or do you have a separate platform that they log into for all their education?
So both. We have multiple components. We have like training modules and videos. We do live calls every single week as a group. And some other components, but we also have this community component. Our community component, it's hosted right on Facebook. We looked at, again, some of the efficacy of moving it off Facebook, but the reality is, as much as people want to say Facebook's on its way out, it's still King Daddy Kong as far as where people, especially professionals, are spending their time. Absolutely. Professionals don't spend time on LinkedIn. You go on LinkedIn for 5 minutes in case you want to be recruited or recruit somebody. That's it. Professionals don't spend their professional time on TikTok even. They're going to spend their time at 10 p.m. when, the missus is falling asleep and they're half drunk, flipping through stuff. And they're not there to engage in a professional manner.
They're Facebook, not in that headspace. Yeah,
exactly. Facebook, they're still there. They're looking for clients on Facebook. They're engaging with other professionals. Average user session is like 23 minutes, 4 times per day, 7 days a week. That's King Daddy Kong. So if they're already there, why am I trying to move them somewhere else? I've seen several other communities try to move to their own app or their own platform, their own forum. Yeah. And those communities end up falling apart and coming right back to Facebook, right? So yeah, we host a lot of it there. But then as far as all of our training and all of that stuff, all of it gets recorded and archived in their member portals. So they have member portals right from the Facebook groups. They can link right over to it. We just hang it as an iframe, and they're able to go back and forth between the two without any issues. When we do our live calls, we run them as Zoom calls because it's one of the easiest platforms to get multiple people in one place talking. Right. But we always live stream it back into the group, so we complete this circle of engagement, frankly.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it goes a long, long ways. And I think it's a very efficient and effective way to do things. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of getting binary again, because a lot of this conversation is about insurance. That's your background and everything. The average insurance rep, right? Maybe they're tapping on 6 figures, whether it's home and auto, or they're doing life, or they're doing financial planning products that center around insurance. What do you feel like is something a piece of advice that you can give them right now that'll kind of take them to that next level, to that multiple 6-figure income? What are they missing most of the time?
Yeah, I think so. A few things. Number one, the average insurance agent makes less than $30,000 a year. So It's a little bit of a misconception. And that's because the majority of the industry actually ends up failing out in the first 24 months. In fact, 92% fail out in the first 24 months.
So that brings that average down. That makes sense.
Brings it down significantly. So for the 8% that make it, their average income is $80,000 to $100,000 a year, right? Okay. So I think there's different reasons or different things everybody can do at these different levels. And that's actually how we built our program. We solve for 4 problems. The first problem is you're simply not in front of enough people, right? And so we talk a lot about marketing. You don't need sales training. You don't need to learn that, if you're a pretty lady, put your hand on a dude's lap and he's more likely to buy from you. That's some 1980s bullshit, right? You don't need that. You need to simply be in front of enough people. So we need to spend all of our time and energy figuring out how to get 5 new qualified leads per day, 5 days a week. End of story. If we're underneath that, then we have issues.
Right.
Once we've got to that point, now we need to, without stopping that marketing or that prospecting activity, we need to start developing more quality conversations and implementing those consistently through effective systems and processes. What good is a quality conversation if I forget to have the conversation because we get wrapped up talking about Flintstones push pops or something like that, right?
Well, and
does me no good.
You guys developed a CRM to handle that, right?
Exactly. We developed a CRM to handle that, and the agents that come into our network, a huge portion of them start using that CRM. It's got templates, pipelines, campaigns, all sorts of stuff already ready to go. They just need to plug their customer base into it, put their name on it, and send it off. It doesn't have our name on it. I don't want your customers. Like, you go get those.
Right.
But in those two little changes alone, by just developing the marketing, that alone is going to take you from that $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 a year mark to that $80,000 a year mark. That's the difference. Is you're just in front of more people. What takes you from 80 to 100,000 a year to 200, 250,000 a year is developing or improving the quality of your conversations and implementing effective systems and processes. So that's at that level, that's my advice. If you're stuck there, you probably don't have an automated calendar. You're probably not utilizing a CRM like you should be. You're probably not following up like you should be. You have so much shit falling through the cracks. That's the difference between 80,000 a year and 160, 200, 250, right? Once you're stuck at 250,000 a year, your biggest problem is probably scaling. You're not investing back into your agency in the form of human capital enough. You may say, and I have agents all the time that are like, oh, well, shit, I have a CSR. What is that doing for your revenue?
Right.
Probably nothing, because most people don't run their CSRs as a revenue producing piece. They see it as a sunk cost, right? I have to do it and blah, blah, blah. What a shitty way to look at it. Number one, you sell through service. Your CSR should be making 2x revenue versus what you're paying your CSR if you're doing it right. But number two, you should also be investing into the sales side, the revenue producing side. More marketers, more appointment setters, more closers, right? We got to scale and diversifying through your services at this point. So that's your biggest problem there. That doing that alone, like if you figure out and you implement a system that guarantees $250,000 a year, and then you go hire 5 other people and you plug them into it, they're all going to take a piece home. They're going to make a good 6-figure income,
right?
But you're going to get to keep 50% on top of that. Now, all of a sudden you're doing 500, 700, 800,000 a year. And once you're doing that, you have this machine. It's just churning. Okay. And that's step number 4. When you're stuck at 500 to 700,000 a year, how do we break that $1 million mark? You have a machine that's churning. It's pumping in leads. You got 5 or 10 people doing 5 leads a day each, right? Exactly what you taught yourself to do. And you've got effective systems and processes that all of them are utilizing to develop and control those conversations and cross-sell and everything in between. Great. And you're hiring and you're implementing and you're doing all these things with more and more individuals every single day, but you're still stuck at 500 to 700,000. Well, now it's time to step out of this machine that's converting on simple conversations like home, auto, and life insurance, or health insurance, or Medicare supplements. These are entry-level conversations.
Right.
And now we're going to start cross-selling advanced concept conversations. You're going to start doing commercial insurance. You're going to start doing bigger commercial. You're going to start doing group policies. In my case, we started doing advanced wealth management concepts for the people that were already in our book. I don't need to go look for millionaires. 8% of everybody in the United States has a net worth over $1 million.
Yeah.
I just need to go get 100 new clients into my book of business, and there's 8 of them right there that have a net worth of $1 million that I could potentially help.
Yeah.
Right. And so now, when you're able to do that, the commissions, the revenues on those big conversations, they're significant. They're 50, 100, 250, $1 million for a single policy. Right. You don't need many of those in a year to take your business from 700,000 a year to $1 million, 2 million, 5 million.
Yeah.
But that's at each of those levels. To answer your question, that would be my advice. If you're not making 50, 100,000 a year, somewhere in there, you need to focus on marketing more than anything. If you're not making 250,000, but you're making 100,000, you need to focus on the quality of your conversations, which usually requires you getting the hell over yourself. You've got some ego investments and you think you're hot shit. You're not.
Right.
Otherwise, you'd be making $250,000, right? So have better conversations, systems and processes. If you're making that and you're not going higher, invest into your business more, especially through human capital and resource management, right? And then if you're stuck there, develop more advanced conversations. So,
and I want to point out that the advice that you just gave about scaling your insurance agency is really advice for every business owner out there. What you described, that journey, is what I went through with my business, right? And what everybody should be going through with theirs if they want to continue to grow it, right? And then the second piece of it is, because you are in insurance, you have more premium products out there that give you more margin or commission in your case, right? And it's in your existing consumer base. You just have to go and find it and propose it to them and then market it to them. You're marketing within your own house again, right? And getting a better ROI out of your consumer because of it. So that's massive there. So
exactly.
For Rev, is this something that's sellable? Is this your life's work? Is this something that is there a next step to what you guys are doing over there?
Sellable for me, like as an exit strategy. Is that what we're, yeah. So the way we built it, obviously I'm the face of it right now. You've got to have a face attached at some point. But we're already getting to the point where, and we just launched Rev less than 18 months ago.
I thought it was like 5 years old. It sounded like it was 5 years old already.
No,
awesome.
We just launched it. I mean, I've been coaching for that long, but we just launched this reiteration, this platform, just 18 months ago. And already in 18 months, we've got hundreds of agents in behind what you would consider your paywalls. We've got thousands within the community as a whole. And we're already having agents work their way through the program. And just, we always say, do the work. They're doing the work to the point where I can have them start stepping in and teaching other agents. So like our low level group, it's $50 a month.
Yeah.
It's $50 damn dollars a month to learn how to plug 5 leads a day into your CRM like clockwork, right?
Is that the group that's got 3,000?
No, that one's got several hundred. Our 3,000 group is an attached group, but it's not technically part of Rev.
Gotcha.
So, but in that group, I'm doing one training a quarter now. I have other members of the group who started there and have worked their way up, doing all the training. So they're starting to take over the face, and it isn't about them. It's about the information that's there, that's good, right, and true, and the work we're going to do. Right.
Well, that's massive, because you're creating an opportunity structure in your groups as well as within Rev. And it's for people that aren't even necessarily earning money through Rev yet, but they can be if they step into that leadership role, which is you have your candidate pool within your own consumer base, which is awesome.
It's freaking cool. And the coolest thing is you've got, it's one of the in fact, I'll just say I haven't found another organization that does it to the level we do. There's some that are pretty decent. But we've got, we've got a State Farm agent per se in Virginia that's about to present on their first XYZ policy, and they're scared to do it, and they've never done it. And inside this community, we've got all these agents in all these places, working for all these companies that have already been through that. And so the State Farm agent will throw up a post in the community and like, hey, is there anyone that has some advice or input? And within 5 minutes, we've got 3, 4, 5 insurance agents with other companies. Technically their competition, right? Yeah. On the phone with them, role playing, and hey, here's my sales forms that I use for this. It helps me kind of work through it and remember what to say. And dude, it is the coolest thing. But that, like you say, there's a lot that I can teach and give, but I feel like at the end of the day, most of these people already know a lot of this stuff. I'm able to help pull them out of their shell a little bit.
Yeah.
And lead that conversation. But more and more, they're starting to take over the conversation and do it better than I ever could. Just prior to what we'd started building, nobody had the balls to just say, nobody's better than anybody else. Like, you can all be phenomenally wealthy right where you're at. Your insurance is all the same. It's another version of the same bullshit.
Yeah.
The thing that matters is how empathetic you are, how much you care in your application of those coverages, taking care of those clients, and how effectively you can grow a revenue model. Because if you can't be in business, you're not going to take care of anybody, right?
That's massive, because that's another level for a visionary. to where, all right, my business is gained so much momentum and growth that now the growth comes organically and it doesn't come from my idea or my execution anymore. It's taken on a life of its own, right? And I think we all want to get there to where our business grows by itself because we've created the roadmap for it too, and it becomes.
Dude, it is so cool. So I started this thing years ago. It's something I've implemented in my business, where we do pension reviews for public employees, school teachers, municipal employees, etc. And in doing that, we're able to sell a lot of life insurance and a lot of annuities, assets under management like mutual funds, and all sorts of opportunities by providing these complimentary pension reviews, right? And we took that and we built a blueprint out of it. It's not even a blueprint. It's a turnkey business. The CRMs are there, the sales tools, all the templates. Like agents come in and we teach them how to do it. They don't even have to type up their own email. It's already there.
Right.
It already has their name on it. Like it's ready to go. But we took that from my agency, from something we do, and we started giving it. We just literally gave it to this community of agents we're trying to help elevate, regardless of company or carrier. Here's how you do it. Here's how it is, right?
I gave them the model.
Exactly. We gave them this model. And within the community, to the point where we're talking about right now, within this community, it's been, because I'm a little bit removed from it, it's been 2-3 years since I've gone through some of those templates, some of those pipelines and automations, and whatever. And a couple members of this community that jumped in and went from selling no life insurance and no assets under management and no annuities to doing 10, 15, 20,000 a month in revenue in less than 60 days with this model.
Yeah.
What they've done is they've taken it and now they're working together, colluding. I mean, again, across different companies, carriers all over the nation, they're colluding together to rewrite the templates and the campaigns, make them a little more relevant.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID environment is very different than post-COVID environment. And so there's different language we want to use. There's some different terms and processes. They're doing the whole thing. I'm not having to do any of it. And relaunching this thing as a community resource. And it's just absolutely massive. But to your point, like, I didn't ask them to do that. They're catching the fire. They're catching the vision that there is so much out there for all of us. If we'll collude together, we'll all have more. If we fail to, we're going to continue in this same cycle of perpetuated bullshit where 92% of you are out of business 6 months from now. And it's cool, man. It's really cool.
That's massive. That segues into my last question, which, obviously that's taken on a life of its own, and that's going to be a huge part of your legacy, And so my last question is, what does legacy mean to you, and what legacy are you going to leave behind?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about that, and I think it's a lot less than, or it's a lot less
glamorous.
Yeah, it's kind of anticlimactic, frankly, but it means something to me. So like my legacy, I can give a shit about jets and boats and this and that and the other. What I look at is I go back to when my first boy was born. Both my boys ended up in NICU for a while. And again, we just started this insurance business. I feel like the weight of the world is on my shoulders. I don't know what I'm going to do. Right. I remember sitting there in the chair in NICU with my boy. I was alone with him. My wife was asleep. Got tubes coming out of him, needles all over. And I'm just holding him. He's so tiny. They give you these like green, what do they call them? I don't even remember, the sucker things.
Pacifiers.
Pacifiers. That's the word I'm looking for. It's like this green one, but he's so small. It literally covers all of his face except for like his eyes. Yeah. Right. And his eyes are closed and I'm just staring at him in the depths of despair. Like, woe is me. Right. And he opened just one eye, and it was like, you've seen a show where you just like zoom into the universe. Right. And it just felt like that. I just got lost for just a moment in his eyes. And just everything started making sense and clicking. And since then I've just had this overwhelming feeling of, I don't even want for me. I want for them. Right. And I've caught on to this mindset to the point of legacy that I feel like is a very driving force for me. And the mindset is really a realization that the propensity of mankind is to simply want to do a little bit better than your daddy did before you. You know, to that point, that's all I'd wanted. I want to do a little bit better than my old man did. That's it. That's what most people want. But I want to make damn sure. And in that moment, I realized I want to make damn sure that if that's all my boys end up wanting, they never want more than to do just a little bit better than me. Well, I want so fucking much for them that a little bit better than what I did is something significant and impactful and will change the world for forever. And so I've got to set the bar so damn high so that if all they do is a little bit better than me, that they're leaving their own legacy by default. And to me, that's legacy. That's what I'm trying to do. So I know it's ambiguous and anticlimactic, but that's it.
No, but it makes so much sense. You know, a lot of people talk a lot about being the one for their family, right? And maybe it's not necessarily the one, but maybe you just accelerated your family tree in terms of legacy, you know, by a couple hundred years instead of just the years that you actually lived. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you accelerated their mindset, you accelerated their values, you know, you accelerated their ability to earn so much more in your lifetime than anybody did before you, you know?
Right.
And so I love that. That's a great answer. I appreciate that. So, Carson, if we have anybody listening that wants to reach out, wants to join your groups, wants insurance, I'm sure you have a few people in between you and them, but they want to reach out. Where's the best place for that?
Yeah, honestly, we'll go right back to Facebook. I think Facebook is the best place. Find me on Facebook. I think I sent you my Facebook link. I don't know if you're going to throw that up, but shoot me a message on Facebook. I answer 100% of all my messages myself. I don't have my team do it. I do it. I run my own Facebook account. So if you message me, I guarantee you'll get a response. If you're a dickhead to me, I'll be a dickhead back. If you're good to me, I'll be good back. I can guarantee that too. But that's the best place. You know, we can talk about phone numbers and emails and this and that and the other, but I've got so many businesses at this point. They all have their own email and phone number.
Right.
Facebook is the one place it comes back to, man. And because that's where everybody already is. You're already there. Look me up. Hit me up.
No, that's perfect. And we'll include all that in the show notes as well as links to your groups and everything. So if they just want to get involved with you that way, they can. Hey, this was I got to say, this was probably a top 5 for me. And I've done probably 75, 76 now, man. So, I just love the way the conversation went. And so much of what you're talking about, you know, although people might get dialed in on insurance, it really is just building a business, you know, and how you were able to take it from door to door to actually being a coach to thousands now is pretty amazing. So it was an honor. Appreciate you jumping on the podcast, brother.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me and letting me spread the good word, or the good word as I see it anyways.
Sounds good. Let's get building.
All right.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Building Great Sales Teams podcast. We really do appreciate it. As you know, we believe that great leaders build great teams. How do you become a great leader? You learn from the greats. Join us at the $1 Million Mastermind put on by Ryan Stewman in Frisco, Texas, and learn everything that you need to learn to be that great leader. The link will be in the description below. As always, we ask that you like, share, and subscribe wherever you consume podcasts so you can stay up to date with the Building Great Sales Teams podcast. Let's get building.